The severe spring weather system moved across the central United States in mid-April 2026, producing a widespread outbreak of thunderstorms with large hail, damaging winds, and structural losses. The event was not defined by a single storm, but by a long-lived atmospheric setup that generated repeated severe thunderstorm cells over multiple states. Across April 14th and 15th alone, meteorological monitoring agencies logged hundreds of hail reports, indicating frequent hail-producing storms embedded within the system rather than isolated occurrences. The strongest impacts developed across the Midwest, where Ohio and Indiana experienced sustained severe conditions as the system tracked eastward. In Ohio, the most significant impacts were concentrated in the northern and northeastern regions, including the Cleveland metropolitan area. Storm cells moving through this corridor produced hail generally ranging from 1 inch up to around 2 inches in diameter, with isolated reports approaching or reaching golf ball size. Hail at this scale is structurally damaging by definition, and the observed impacts reflected that threshold clearly. Multiple communities reported vehicle body damage, shattered or cracked windows, and roof surface damage consistent with large hail impact on asphalt shingles and siding materials. Damage patterns were not uniform across the state, but where the strongest convective cores passed, impacts were abrupt and concentrated rather than diffuse. Wind intensity added a secondary damage component in Ohio. Several storm reports included straight-line wind gusts, strong enough to down trees and power lines, producing scattered outages across affected counties. In some localized areas, wind and hail occurred in rapid succession, increasing total damage severity. Downed branches, blocked roads, and temporary infrastructure interruptions were reported in multiple locations. Structural damage was more limited and generally associated with weaker outbuildings, but the combination of hail size and wind pressure was sufficient to produce noticeable property-level disruption. The Cleveland area represented one of the more documented impact zones within Ohio. Storm passage through this urban and suburban environment led to concentrated reports of hail damage, particularly to parked vehicles and residential roofing. Hail accumulation was brief but intense in some neighborhoods, consistent with strong updraft-downdraft cycling within mature thunderstorm cells. The physical characteristics of the hail reports align with severe thunderstorm classification, where updraft strength is sufficient to sustain hail growth above 1 inch in diameter before precipitation falls rapidly once support collapses. Indiana experienced similar but generally less intense conditions compared to Ohio. The state was within the same storm corridor as the system matured and moved east. Reported hail sizes in Indiana typically ranged from about 1 inch to approximately 1.75 inches, placing many events in the lower to mid-severe category. While still capable of producing damage, these hail sizes resulted in a more distributed impact pattern rather than concentrated high-end destruction. Reports included vehicle dents, minor roof damage, and isolated crop exposure impacts, particularly in areas where storms tracked slowly or redeveloped along boundary lines. A key feature of Indiana's experience was variability across short distances. Some counties recorded only brief hail with limited consequences, while others experienced stronger cells, capable of producing repeated hail bursts. This reflects the internal structure of severe thunderstorm systems, where mesoscale differences in moisture, instability, and wind shear determine storm longevity and hail growth efficiency. Indiana did not consistently experience the most extreme conditions of the outbreak, but it remained firmly within the active severe corridor as the system progressed.
Oh my God, look at that. It is crazy. I'm literally getting toasted. Holy cow.
The relationship between Ohio and Indiana during this event is defined by storm evolution over time. As the system moved eastward, it retained enough instability to continue producing severe hail, but peak intensity varied depending on storm redevelopment cycles. Earlier portions of the system produced more extreme hail potential, while later stages affecting Ohio and Indiana still carried sufficient energy for damaging hail and wind, though with reduced consistency compared to the core outbreak regions. Beyond these two states, the broader system affected a large portion of the central United States. In the upper Midwest, particularly in Minnesota and Iowa, storms produced some of the largest hail of the outbreak, with reports exceeding 2 inches and in isolated cases approaching or surpassing 3 inches in diameter, which is associated with high damage potential. Kansas experienced multiple severe storm tracks with large hail and wind damage, including localized areas of significant property loss. Texas also recorded repeated severe thunderstorm activity, with large hail reports consistent with its spring climatology. In total, the system impacted more than 10 states over a multi-day period, making it a regional-scale severe weather outbreak rather than a localized event.
Down. We'll have good airflow tonight in our bedroom.
The overall outcome of the mid-April 2026 outbreak is defined by scale and repetition, rather than a single catastrophic point of failure. Ohio experienced concentrated hail and wind damage in multiple metro and suburban zones, while Indiana saw widespread but generally less intense severe weather impacts. Both states were part of a continuous severe weather corridor that extended from the plains through the Midwest, producing a sustained period of hazardous conditions with measurable and documented surface level damage.
Listen to that hit the house. Oh.
Thanks for watching Severe Weather, where we break down the facts behind nature's most intense moments. If you found this video helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps this channel going. Hit the bell so you never miss a real, calm, and clear report. See you in the next one. Stay informed, stay safe.